Welcome everyone, Christine here with a discussion about the Chaos Dwarfs in Total War Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires. The Chaos Dwarfs are a really good race, but given the pacing of the campaign right now in Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires, accessing a lot of the very fun and interesting stuff of the Chaos Dwarfs can take a fairly long time. Or does it? Because there might be ways, and there are ways, of taking advantage of the situation. But let me explain how the Chaos Dwarfs work very quickly. The principal way they function is that you're supposed to go out there, find battles, secure laborers. You then take those laborers and you power strip mines, which give you materials. Then those strip mines are powering factories, which can give you coin or armaments. This is a nice system, but there is a bit of a problem. Because you have a reliance on all these different resources, and if you run out of laborers, your strip mines don't work. If you run out of materials, your factories don't work. And because a lot of buildings also require materials and armaments, depending, like main settlement buildings for your capitals require materials. Factories require materials. The strip mines themselves are very expensive in terms of gold. You do have instant construction, but you do have slow building times by default. So you have a race that is extremely powerful in the long term, but you need to build up that industry. And by default, it is a very slow process. But there are ways to cheese it, if you will, or to take advantage of some of the game mechanics. So over here, for instance, I've taken the path to the east, and let's just say we give it, to Grimlore. We get certain alliances with Grimlore, which helps us maintain our might. Because one of the problems the Chaos Dwarfs do actually have is the fact that they don't have enough gold early on. So you're constantly forced by default, like, oh, do I go bankrupt, or do I push heavily for the sake of materials or armaments? That is a choice. But what if you can't have all three of them at once? You can have armaments, you can have materials, and even laborers. Though you may not even need laborers, because remember, laborers are principally used to give you materials. And you'd still want strip mines, don't get me wrong on that. And you would want, ideally, laborers, but early on, you may not have enough laborers. So instead of trying to run around trying to get enough laborers to fuel your economy, just constantly use the laborers to give yourself conclave influence for the various seats that exist out over here. Some of the best ones are Machinator for raw materials, Blacksmith for armaments, 25 per turn, Prophet for casualty replenishment, and then Warmonger, 15% campaign movement range after winning a battle. Those are the kind of seats you want to hold. Actually, that 15% campaign movement range is what may actually be essential to make this easier. You can do it without it by having an extra army. But over here, let's say I've marched on Kolic, right? It is a tier 2 settlement. I go over here, Tamarkan's won against Kolic in this particular campaign. I go to the settlement, and if I raise it, I get 1,200 material. So raising settlements, especially proper provincial capitals, will grant you a lot of freaking materials. There is, however, so for instance over here, I could start potentially pushing this capital to, tier 4. I don't need to right now, but it gives you an idea of what you can do. But it goes further. Now over here I was fortunate enough, and this does tend to happen more often than not, that Astrogoth did not move from settlement. Weirdly enough, I actually see this quite often, like in the testing I was doing in the run-up to this video. I see quite often that when you raise a settlement as a Chaos Dwarf, the lore doesn't tend to move back, because one of the things the lords will do when you raise a settlement, they'll move back so you won't be able to touch the settlement. But here's the thing with provincial capitals, when you reoccupy it, normally it would be a ruin, but here it isn't a ruin, it is a proper freaking settlement. And so you can take any settlement as a proper provincial proper settlement from the beginning. You can, let me just even transfer more laborers, because apparently I forgot the cost. Then we can build a barracks over here with that. So right now I'm running out of money. Then we go to Grimgore, for instance. And, well, okay, forget Grimgor. He doesn't have the money for it, actually, at this point. We go to Tamarkan. He might have the money. We get military alliance with him. And we get a lot of gold. Because the AI has so many cheats that region trading can give you a lot of money. But for instance, over here, I'm not going to be in a war with Grimgar. I've got the non-aggression pact, military access. I could have traded that settlement to him, no problem, and sparked a war between Grimgar and Tamarkan. Though maybe that is going to happen. So through this process, I've gotten myself tons of money, so that's eliminating the financial issue. Because the problem with cash for Chaos Dwarfs, it's not that Chaos Dwarfs can generate money. They can. Quite a bit of it, in fact. But when you look at the financial buildings, the provincial capitals give you the treasure hole. That goes up to 750, but each of these costs materials. The alternative is the gold refinery that also gives you 750, but costs 1,500 materials. It's all about the materials. You look at the regular one, this gives you 250. This does cost gold. Is not necessarily the cheapest building, but it does get the job done. But regardless of it, you need different buildings for recruitment, for armaments, for money. That just being able to eliminate the money part by trading settlements is a significant aspect. That's, of course, very obvious. But the fact that you can raise a settlement, get money from raising the settlement, get materials from raising the settlement, and then take that settlement over as a proper settlement as opposed to a ruin that you have to spend money and just build a barracks, which you can do instantly if you're willing to spend the laborers, and then trade that settlement to another faction instead of investing a lot of gold or materials to build up. That gives the Chaos Dwarfs a ridiculous level of power. This only works for provincial capitals. And what can you do with that power then? Well, when you have infinite money, you have infinite armies. When you have infinite armies, it creates a cascading effect where you can do this more and more and more and more. So the more money you have, the more armies you can maintain, the more armies you can maintain, the more you can do this. Or you can supercharge your economy as the Chaos Dwarfs. Like right here, for instance, right? If I do this again, so let's just say, I'm just going to use the teleport and movement commands right here just to demonstrate it. So let's say, I use movement command, console command right here to reset my movement point. I go over here to these guys, right? Over here. And we fight that battle. You may want to fight the battle outside of a settlement, but anyway. We raise the settlement. Maybe it's not enough, right? It's not enough to get to tier 3. But we then take over the settlement. And we then build over here. We got a decent number of laborers over here. So we can instantly construct this. We instantly build this to a higher tier. And then we go, I don't know, Azag or the Greenskins. But let's just say we go to Azag, right? We go to Azag, we sell it over to Azag. Actually, he doesn't have the money to give us right here because I guess he's losing against Unger, and that just does happen. And if you want to go even further on the bullshit train, by the way, right? So let's say we go further on the bullshit train because we can. You can then take it over again. Now, and you'll still, because when you trade a settlement, like, beyond the fact that you could just probably out-resolve it with an army like this, but when you're trading a settlement to a faction of a different race, it will not have a garrison instantly in there. So that is a specific advantage that you can use in your campaign. And then there's more. Let's say and then there's more, right? You have caravans, like you have all these seats over here that give you all these benefits like casualty replenishment. You can increase the number of caravans. You can reduce the construction time for things. But then you have caravans that also give you that extra edge in terms of either materials or armament, materials or labor, or you can sell armaments for gold. So all your gold issues, all your financial issues, or your problems are resolved. Now, I do feel that CA should just give us more resources early on as the Chaos Dwarfs, because right now the way we're having to do this is not great. But doing this will make your Chaos Dwarf campaign better. Don't view this video as an indication of how you should play Astrogoth, by the way, because if I was playing a proper campaign, I would have done some things differently. I probably would have gone north, right, to deal with the Goromandi Mountains, though I probably would have still taken Ice Spewer, but, you know, because Grimgore, but all the same, just, you know, taking all these territories here could have been worth it. That's all I had to say. Christine signing out. Stay tuned for more.